Hey, Dawgpound South campers. This is the Cleveland Browns Dawgpound South podcast, part of the Fanatical Elves Network, part of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Steve Gill. Combine's going on right now. Everybody loves it. Just a few news and notes. We heard from the Browns GM, Andrew Berry, and we heard from head coach Kevin Stefanski in their pressers. Couldn't really hear the questions. I tried to listen, but I went back and got the highlights, which, they really didn't say much, but they said quite a bit. Let's start with Andrew Berry. Sounds like Nick Chubb is going to get a deal done. I would think they would. He's been a loyal soldier. Got hurt playing hard. He was about to have a monster season. Just if you just saw him in the preseason games he played. Well, he didn't play preseason, but the first couple games. First game, especially against Cincinnati, he was about to have a monster season. So that will be the next contract they will restructure. He's due $12.2 million, and it's non-guaranteed. So he really doesn't have any leeway as to what's about to happen. So I would assume that they're going to get that done. And Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is the number one wide receiver. But anyway, Andrew Berry, happy to have more money. Who wouldn't? He made some news that they were going back to the Greenbrier. A lot of people think that that's what held this team together, a little bit more team-centered. So we'll see. Also that they're going to scrimmage the Vikings in Cleveland, which I think is great. No more Philadelphia Eagles. I wonder why. Could it be that the Browns might be playing their first game against the Philadelphia Eagles in Brazil? Things to think about. Or it could be just that the GM of the Vikings used to work for the Browns. But I'm looking forward to the scrimmages. Not a lot of other really big news. As for Kevin Stefanski, he came out and said that he and Ken Dorsey are going to head out to Deshaun Watson out on the left coast and meet with him. He's not going to throw or do anything like that. See, this is a union mandated type thing. You can't really force players to come to the facilities if they don't want to. No team has gotten caught doing it. So, just to make everything better, he's going to go out, introduce Ken Dorsey to Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's going to probably pick his brain a little bit. I would think he would. After a bumpy start with Deshaun Watson, he and Kevin Stefanski get along fine. I mean, it's not like Stefanski's an old coach. I mean, he's only, 40, and Watson is, late 20s. So, there's no generation in between them. So I would think they're just going to go out and have a meet and greet and get on the same page, and that's about it. Stefanski is, I think he's a good play caller. I don't get the ranking of him being. By the way, let's stop with the report cards and the rankings. They don't mean anything. I mean, so what? We got millionaires ranking billionaires. Whoop-de-doo. The Kevin Stefanski, they're building a new weight room. I mean, come on. Jimmy and Dee are flush with cash right now. They've finally gotten that $1 billion deal with Warren Buffett all complete. I think over the years they have collected over $13 billion. It was what we call in the accounting trade an installment sale. They make installments over the years, and they finally got their last payment. So that was good news. Andrew Berry didn't seem too worried about injuries. He also said that the injuries for all the three tackles, Jedrick, Jack Conklin, and DeJuan Jones are going well. Sounds like to me they're all going to be on the roster. A reporter asked Andrew Berry if he was going to redo Deshaun Watson's contract, and he said he didn't think that was necessary. That's GM speak. And also, if the reporter had asked, are you going to restructure Deshaun Watson's contract, I'm sure he would have given a different answer. You got to be careful. If you're in the news media, be careful how you use your words. Words matter. And last night on the Fanatical Elves show, Elliot, my co-contributor, the Oracle, brought up an excellent point that the Browns are going to have to, some point in his contract, skip a year for restructure. And I totally agree with Elliot. It's kind of like, it would be kind of like a reset. And right now, the Browns have $16 million extra to spend than they thought, $30 million more than last year. So that is kind of like a bonus to Andrew Berry. He's got some more change in his pocket. Let's talk about some of the people that they've talked to. So far, it's been defensive linemen. You have 2 defensive ends, Eric Watts of UConn, who I like, Adisa Isaac from Penn State, a couple defensive tackles, Brandon Fisk of Florida State, and Mason Smith of LSU. I really can't see them drafting a defensive lineman with their first pick at number 54. Defensive linemen take a while to develop. My example would be Alex Wright. His rookie year, he really wasn't that good. Give him another year. Last year, he played extremely well in replace of Hurst and Shelby Harris. So we'll see how he does with more snaps. But all right, he looked good. Let's take a quick break right here, and then I'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about Denzel Ward's contract extension or restructure that they did. So, salary cap. Last night I'd said that they'd already posted his contract, new numbers. No, they have not. Denzel Ward, that's what his extension was when they did it. He signed through 2027. Now, I am a big follower of Jack Duffin because I love to talk about the salary cap, and he seems to be the lord of the salary cap. Yes, he does. He is smart. He breaks everything down in the most easiest terms to understand. So follow him at Jack Duffin on Twitter. No, I will not call it X. That's a stupid name. So he is projecting that the possible new salary for Denzel Ward will probably go through 2031 with 3 voidable years. He will be on the roster till 2028, and then the next following years will be void years, not on the roster. They're just allocating out the signing bonus, the restructure bonus, and all that other stuff. So that would make sense. I could see that. So if you haven't noticed, they haven't really done any more restructures. You'll find out about them. I'm of the belief, as is Jack Duffin, that they'll wait closer to when the new league year starts on March 13th to do more restructures. They like to have the money ready when they make a signing. And once they are sure they're going to do a signing, they do a restructure. Makes perfect sense. So, I think they're going to go heavy in free agency for defensive tackles. Right now, you have Delvin Tomlinson, who's getting 70% of the snaps. They need to do one more big. I think they're going to do one more big free agent signing in free agency. It wouldn't hurt to have another starting defensive tackle come in. Now, a lot of names you're going to hear going up. Chris Jones of Kansas City. I really don't see Kansas City letting him go. They just waived the wide receiver, big Super Bowl hero, and they franchised Snead, the defensive back. Also, Leonard Williams, Matabuke of Baltimore. I wouldn't mind them stealing him from him. He's only 26 years old, and his probably would be about a 4-year, $23 million a year per year contract. I could see that. He's right in Andrew Berry's wheelhouse, young guy coming up, and he gets to steal him from another an AFC North opponent. I would love that. So as for the draft, a lot of people are talking about wide receiver with the first pick if they don't trade it. I could see that. I still think they're going to sign a wide receiver in free agency, possibly two. They've got to replace Goodwin, Marquise Goodwin. I'm sorry, I love Marquise Goodwin signing, but health issues and age it just doesn't add up. So Gabe Davis seems to be everybody's favorite. That's quite possible. Calvin Ridley's name keeps putting up. Hollywood Brown's name keeps popping up. Gabe Davis would be fine with me, but then they got to find, he would be a good two. Even though I think Elijah Moore would be a two if they just started the year last year, not having it run trick plays with him, just lining him up as a wide receiver when the season started. I think he would have done a lot better. Also, the multiple quarterbacks that were thrown to him didn't exactly help. So a lot of people think they'll go wide receiver with the their first pick in the second round. I'm more inclined to think linebacker. Linebacker group is pretty thin right now, especially a Mike linebacker. They've got JOK and they've got Fields and Diabate, who are will linebackers. I'd love to see him re-sign Sione Takitaki. He can do a little of both. But they need a linebacker, and the last time they drafted a linebacker in the second round worked out pretty well, JOK. Speaking of which, they got to give him an extension. Browns don't like to really pay their linebackers. Andrew Berry follows the thinking that the Philadelphia Eagles do. You put a bunch of veterans together and you roll with that. So we'll see what happens with that. As for the next contract extension, like I said, they're going to have to rework Nick Chubb. I think Amari Cooper, if they keep him, definitely they're not going to pay him $20 million for 1 year. Myles Garrett may be up for it. He seems like now he's come full circle since his rookie year. He's all about the team. The only other ones would possibly be Petonio and Teller. If they keep Teller, they're going to have to redo his deal. I don't know. You just signed Njoku. I wonder if he'd be up for it. And Hopkins the kicker is due $3.1 million. Do they rework that one? I don't know. So they've got players to sign. Wide receivers come into the combine tomorrow for interviews. So you're going to see a lot on social media about what wide receivers said. I think the Browns draft a wide receiver. I definitely think they draft a running back, probably a tackle. This is a very good tackle draft. I would go with a tight end on day 3. There are a lot of good, solid tight ends in this draft. You're only looking for like your number 3 tight end. That's all you're looking for. A guy can block and a guy who can occasionally catch a pass. This is a good draft for that. Wide receiver is always good. So, he's going to draft for depth again this year. So that's it for today. The only other big news is that T. Higgins got franchised by the Bengals. He is now estimated the franchise tag is going to be $21 million, and that will equal to roughly about 42% of their cap savings. They're going to have to rework that deal. They're not going to sign and train him. They're going to keep him. I wish they'd sign and train him. And if they did, they definitely wouldn't sign and train him to the Browns. They don't do deals with the Browns. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch. All right. So that's it. Just a quick little information podcast for you here on the Cleveland Browns Dawgpound South podcast. I'm your host, Steve Gill. This podcast, of course, is part of the Fanatical Elves Network, part of the Fans for Sports Network. Again, we appreciate you watching, listening, and following us. We're Browns fans just like you. Just we're a little more crazier because we do this. All right. So everybody have a great day and go Browns.